It's a best of 9 show match, so it's probably going to be a long one here. We like to get as many games as we can in the game's invitational here, but spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map, it's Bomber. And in the bottom right-hand side of the map, it is Super. Should be a fantastic match between these two players, Bomber and Super. Both very good players. I imagine they're around the same skill level. I get the feeling that Super might slightly be favored here, as he made it into the GSL on the first round of qualifiers. Bomber got through on the second. Super made it through on the first, so maybe that's noteworthy, maybe it's not. But these guys, both of them retired, went to the army somewhat around the same time, I believe. Super and Bomber actually played. Okay, let's get into it. There's a reason why I wanted to do this match, guys. And that's because when arguably the Adepts were the Opt-Dept, and they had like 90 health, they dealt more damage. Yeah, when Adepts were very, very good and new in Starcraft 2, and all the Protoss were like, let's make a bunch of these and shade onto the Terran, Super did that to Bomber, I think it was in the GSL, and he just destroyed him over and over again. So I'm like, okay, let's have a rehash, because that was pretty much right before Bomber retired. And yeah, so we'll see how this match is going to go between these two. The first map is starting to unfold a little bit here. We have a Cybercore first from Super, just notable that that is indeed before his Nexus, so just wanting to play it safe. Make sure that you have that Adept or Stalker out in time for the Reaper that comes across the map. Probe running home for Super. Knows that Reaper's going to be popping on out, so he sends him packing. Bomber is moving south with his Reaper, looking for said probe, as sometimes Protoss players do hide it and then go in for a delayed scout to see what the Terran's up to. Maybe to turn the Reaper around. That's sometimes something that the Protoss does. Now the first Adept is out for Super, sends out a Shade, just in position to try and intercept this Reaper, whereas this Reaper going into the main base while the Adept was hanging by the ramp. Reaper taking the direct path, but does indeed turn around. Now this is where we start to see the build unfolding here a little bit. We have a Sentry on the way for Super, so that's going to be for scouting most likely, followed up by a Stalker. However, there is also a Twilight Council on the way. Twilight Council, if I had to guess, is most likely going to be used for a quick Blink build that's in the meta currently. The Blink build into, say, the Robo, into Colossus or whatever, just into a macro opening, is an incredible build, in my opinion, as Blink Stalker is very good at shutting down harassment, but then they can go on the offensive and hit a nice timing versus the Terran before the Terran really hits stim. And so that's something that makes the Blink build very, very nice for the Protoss player. Now we'll see exactly what Super's going to do with this. He's building up a bit of energy. We'll see what he's going to dump that into, whether he'll Chrono out the upgrade or Chrono Boost out probes, and there's the answer. Chrono boosting out that Blink. Robo gets thrown down, just getting up an extra gateway or two, and there's a hallucinated Phoenix, or actually a hallucinated Oracle, pardon me. Just going to be scouting out what Bomber is doing. Bomber, though, cool as a cucumber, moving across the map. He's got all of his Hellions in his Reaper, and oh my gosh, Super is not prepared for this at all. Bomber, you can just go on in here. He's going to actually focus down the Adept, which is a bit of an odd choice. The Hellions run on in. They're actually going to go for the Sentry. So far, he hasn't got any probes. He maybe could have just dove onto the Natural instead. He's been picking off a few other units here. Gets 6 probes already, though. There's still 2 Hellions alive in the main base of Super. 7 probes going down, making that 8. Can he get another? Looks like he's going to run out at 8. Now, there was the follow-up, though, that was coming across the map, and that was indeed a Banshee. Super, though, he should be prepared for the Banshee, but he's already taken a fair bit of damage, as those Hellions, they killed off 8 probes. That is a completely satisfactory number, because they also killed off an Adept and the Sentry, which is a bit of a pain for Super. He's not going to have that easy scouting potential with a hallucinated unit. Now, Banshee's coming on in, going to pick off this probe as it spots the 3rd base. In comes this Banshee with Cloak. Now, where is that Observer? The Observer is coming behind a little bit. Seems, though, that Bomber is just saying, okay, I want to keep this Banshee alive. I'm going to send it home. You've got Stalkers. You've got Blink on the way. And That observer should be around somewhere. Now, the build behind this for Bomber, he's getting up a command center, and he's got up a siege tank. He's making marauders. It is important to note that Bomber's tech is fairly delayed from this. And when I say tech, I mean his main bio capability, as he's just got up the one tank, just getting up his extra racks now. And the fact that he's gone right into a third CC means he could potentially be weak to a blink counterattack. However, Super is just macroing up from the seam of it. As I say that, though, he's got 2 extra gateways on the way. He's got himself a fair few Blink Stalkers. He's actually going to pick off one of the Banshees, too, which is nice. Might even get the second one. Let's see, those Stalkers, yeah, off cooldown. Oh, that Banshee, oh, the Observer doesn't follow in time, though. Now, this is where I find out what's quicker, a Banshee or an Observer. Looks like the answer is a Banshee. So, now Super going to be going on the offensive a little bit. There's a bunker at the front for Bomber. He's got a tank in his main, which is very important because Protoss, they're very notorious or very well known. I think you can say this about every Protoss, blinking into the Terran's base whenever you have the opportunity. So Bomber, he's got to be careful. I would love to see another tank out for Bomber. When you're dealing with Blink Stalkers, you generally want that because I'm a little bit concerned if these Stalkers can get on in and say maybe pick off the tank, maybe just blink on top of the bunker. We'll see. That Observer gets picked off as it runs right into the Raven, though. That's a big mistake from Super. That really hurts. And that actually shuts down a lot of the aggressive potential here. So that's very nice for Bomber. He's actually going to move down with his Raven and his tank now a little bit. Not having to worry about the counterattack. He's even moving out, going to secure his third base. And he's going to have Stim in just a couple of seconds here, about 20 seconds or so. And that's really just going to allow the Terran to be completely fine. Might lose his Raven here. That's a nice pick-off for Super. These Stalkers, they do have to escape, though. And Blink gets off cooldown. Yeah, loses, I believe, a Stalker or 2, but was able to pick off the Raven. I'd say that was absolutely worth it for Super. And then we're in a situation in which Bomber, he's on 3 CCs. He's equal on economy with the Protoss player. And if you're equal, you're ahead as the Terran because he got the meal factor. And then he's going to have Stim. He's got 1-1 on the way. And while Super's getting up his own upgrades, there doesn't seem to be a lot of substance that's going to be able to stop a potential bio push here. And that makes me a little bit concerned for Super. He's getting up cannons at each of his bases, but I think he's got to be more worried about the direct attack that's coming his way. He's got the Observer over top of this army, and it looks like he's thinking of trying to poke onto that tank. He blinks forward, gets the tank, costs him a Stalker or 2, trades out. Picking off that tank is a nice move. Now, from casting Bomber's TvP the other day, his TvP, like, he's all macro. I know Bomber's always been macro, but he just makes a ton of stuff. He is just making so much bio right now, and he's just surging up in supply here. I mean, he's still not too far ahead of Super, but his production is really getting underway, and it's just bio. So it seems like a lot. No tanks or anything, really. Just bio, Marine, Marauder, Medivac. This is where Bomber excels. Now, Super, he is going to try and buy time, as that's what these Stalkers do with their higher mobility. But Bomber's coming across the map, and he's going to be looking for blood now. So we'll see if this is going to work. Marine SC2 in chat saying, go Bomber, go. Good to see some of you guys coming out to tune on in and watch on AfreecaTV. If you guys are enjoying this stream, make sure to press that favorite button and let your friends know. Now, let's see. Bomber, he did get pulled back a little bit there by a Zealot counterattack. Stims going to be trying to push these Stalkers back. Super is buying himself some time, and he is getting into double Colossus. Now, the interesting thing about Bomber was when he was playing versus Puck, Puck also made himself a couple of Colossus here and there, but Bomber really just actually went for a lot of drops, more than I think most Terrans do these days, and he could actually be getting caught out here. You got to be very careful, Bomber. It's a lot of Zealots and Stalkers. You got to fight with your whole army if you're taking this on. As we are seeing Bomber, he's now looking to split his army up into multiple groups. This Observer, by the way, for Super has been an absolute godsend, just seeing the timings for Bomber moving out, seeing the fact that he's going hard into bio still. And let's take a look. Bomber's looking to put the pressure on his opponent, but there is 2 Colossus out now, and that really solidifies the Protoss army. It makes the Protoss army just trade out basically infinitely better. That being said, though, Bomber is still pretty maxed out. He's just finished his +2 attack, so he's got a temporary upgrade lead. He might be coming in for a sandwich or something like this, but you gotta be careful, Bomber. What's the rest of your army doing? Yeah, I mean, it looks like he is going for a nice pincer attack, and he's actually going to be doing just that. The army of Super is split up. This is a beautiful angle for Bomber. Is it going to be enough to overcome these Colossus? So fantastic force fields on the right side for Super, but Bomber stims in on the left. That's definitely an overcommitment, though, and it looks like Super is going to be able to hold on here as he sends Bomber packing. And yeah, look at that. Super able to hold on there. Bomber tried to attack on in there, but it was definitely the force fields on the right side. Bomber ran in trying to snipe the Colossus, but there was actually just too much Protoss to make that work. And so, yeah, fantastic hold so far for Super. That being said, though, Bomber not skipping a beat. He's got an extra orbital command up. He's gone up to 4 bases, so it's now 4 bases versus 4 bases. So economy-wise, Bomber's still in a pretty fine situation. The thing that I'm a little bit concerned about, though, is the fact that Bomber is still just making bio. He did this versus Puck. He did not like making Vikings, but there's 4 Colossus out now, and this is a very punishing amount of Colossus. Like, I don't know if there's a universe in which a Terran can take on this many Colossus with just Marines and Marauders. Bomber's sure going to be trying his best. He's making 6 Marauders at a time, which is absolutely insane. He's at 35 Marauders. This has been so long since I've seen this many Marauders in a StarCraft 2 game. It's insane. And Bomber's just adding on more barracks. No starports, just barracks. Bomber was like, back in the day I made Marines, Marauders, and Medivacs, and I'll damn sure do it again. He is scanning, trying to catch this Protoss army out. Look at this Super. He has gone up to 6 Colossus. These are old school guys. The Terran just making bio, the Protoss just making Colossus. Is there anything more old school than that? Now, Bomber is going to try and pull his opponent out of position. Super seems to have identified this attack as incoming, though. The Nexus could still get canceled. That is not the case, though. Bomber's just engaging into this army. He's got himself equal upgrades as the Protoss, and he's actually chewing through most of the buffer right now as a skirmish is going down towards the south side. But look at this. Yeah, the Colossus just put out too much damage. Bomber's getting forced back. Both these guys, though, still on fantastic economies. However, Super did keep his 5th base alive. And Bomber, I gotta say, I hate to say it, man, I love seeing the Marines and Marauders. I think it's time, or a few minutes ago, it was time to throw on a couple of starports or something. Because Bomber's macro has just been fantastic. And this is the one thing that really blew me away from casting him the other day as well, is that, yeah, his macro has just been immaculate. Like, he's just so good at producing units. He's an old school guy, and he just mastered that, and he definitely hasn't lost it. Now, he's getting caught out of position a little bit here. Part of his bio, and look at that offensive blink there by Super, going to be picking off a fair few medivacs. Now, Bomber is moving across the map with the rest of his army, though. This could potentially force a recall from Super, and I think it should do. Is there going to be a recall somewhere? Super, he's retreating, but oh, he uses the recall on the Nexus that was getting targeted down, so Bomber able to cancel it, is going to be able to keep going in with these Marines and Marauders. He's going to be engaging these units that are warping on in. Bomber, I think, could potentially pick off another Nexus or something here, picking off pylons, picking off everything else left and right, getting himself a fair few probes. That being said, though, Super is hot on these units' heels, charging on in. Bomber, though, not missing a beat, coming in with the rest of his army, realizing the opportunity he's created for himself. In come these medivacs. The bio is not stimming behind this, though, and it looks like Super will be in position. So Bomber throws away a lot of units. He picked off a Nexus, picked off a few probes and stuff. That did cost him a lot, and I think in a lot of StarCraft 2 games, I'd say that's probably not worth it for the Terran player. However, Bomber has had such a good economy. Like, he's got so much money in the bank, and he's just producing units nonstop. But I'm still concerned, man. It's 6 Colossus versus 33 Marauders. I want to say the Colossus win this. Like, Super, he's got a couple of Sentries, Guardian Shields popping. Bomber is coming in from a beautiful angle. He's going to try and focus down some of the Colossus. Super juggling those Colossus. I mean, this is a beautiful angle for Bomber. He's starting to focus down some of the Colossus. That being said, though, it's not free. Bomber engaging this army. Bomber has to retreat. He's still technically up on supply, but most of that is in medivacs. He's got more medivacs than Marauders, which is slightly concerning. And that base he was trying to establish does get shut down. Super warping in a couple of Sentries. He's still got 4 Colossus left, so Bomber picked off 2 of them, but it's still just too many Colossus here, I feel. This is, yeah, like, Bomber, I mean, you're playing an awesome game here, man, but SCVs have to be pulled. The snowball is getting dangerously real. I mean, Marauders do pick off 1 more of the Colossus. Super, though, can he hold on, or is Bomber going to be able to hold on versus this? Archons are going down. I mean, Marauders are getting on top of this. No, does Bomber clean this up? Oh my god, does What? No. Bomber holds on. Okay, he pulled a few SCVs into the fight there, just transferred them or something, but Bomber holds on. He was able to do it. Just Marines and Marauders. Okay, I know nothing about this game. 6 Colossus. Bomber's just like, I got 3/3 upgrades, I'm good. Super did not have +3 in that attack, which I feel is notable. And it was just a beautiful angle for Bomber, but it's still 6 Colossus, man. He was able to overcome that with basically just the power of Marauders. Bomber is stubborn, but he's stubborn and right. Beautiful play here from the Terran so far. And I'm just blown away by the fact that Bomber is just making Marines and Marauders. 10 Marauders at a time there for a second. I don't even know how long it's... He's got 14 barracks. When's the last time you saw a Terran with 14 barracks? In comes Bomber now. I mean, he's up on supply by a disgusting amount. And Super's dead, man. He's got 1 Colossus. He had 6 before and wasn't able to stop Bomber. And he doesn't have any Psystorm or anything. He got the upgrade. Or no, he didn't even get the upgrade. He got the Templar Archives, but never actually researched Psystorm. And Super's dead. Bomber took the first game with only Marines and Marauders. GG gets called. Bomber is stuck in the Wings of Liberty era, but somehow it's still working. Well put, Marine SC2 in chat. Beautiful game there. Beautifully done. And now it's going to be Super's map pick, as we are doing a loser's pick. The maps are basically the 2 GSL maps and then the 7 ladder maps. So beautifully done there. Make sure to let your friends know that this show match is going on, guys. And after that match, I mean, I'm just harping on it for the players. You can literally give them free money just by going to Match Arena, signing in, using coupon code GAME16. Adds 50 cents to the prize pool. And yeah. Beautiful game between these two. Oh my god, so sick. Hope you guys are enjoying this cast. Lots of great StarCraft 2 going on these days. Like, it's been a busy week for StarCraft 2, guys. Just for me and for everyone else in general. So yeah, we'll see. Like, just so much more good StarCraft 2 going on. The GSL finals were the other night. I honestly didn't get to catch those, unfortunately, as they're very, very late here. I mean, it's pretty early here still, but very, very late for the GSL finals. Loading on into the next map, which is going to be Thunderbird as Super's pick. If you're Super, you're kind of confused, right? That was just Bomber, just so much macro. So much macro. That was a beautiful, beautiful play game from Bomber, man. Okay, we've got everyone on in. We'll make sure they're ready. And then we will go, go, go. Okay. And it is time to jump on into the next match. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on into the Games Invitational. I'm surprised I haven't accidentally called it Africa World yet, but it is not. It is the Games Invitational number 16. Yeah. This is the 16th event. The past ones were done on Twitch, but we're on AfreecaTV now, which is great. They're supporting this tournament. And of course, if you do want to catch all the past ones, a bit of a self-plug, they're all on my YouTube channel, which I do other commentaries on. So if you guys enjoy the casting, you can check that out as well. You can probably guess what the username is. Anyway, here we are. It is the next map, spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map. Like, I honestly thought he was a dead nerd, but he's not. It's Bomber. And in the bottom right, it's Super. Super, a fantastic Protoss player. I think it's fair to be confused when a Terran is just making bio and is like, hey, let's do it. Because that's exactly what Bomber did. He's like, Marines, Marauders, Medivacs. That's the plan. I think he had like a tank that game, and then he just macroed. And that's exactly how he played versus Puck. I don't know how Super can adapt to that, besides maybe getting up like quicker Psystorm or something. Or maybe really focusing on getting out his attack upgrades, because thinking about that, in that last fight of those Colossus had +3 attack. Like, the damage boost that would have given would have been huge, because it benefits each swipe, and that was across 6 Colossus, and Bomber had 3-3 there, so he had an upgrade lead. So that I think was a big deal, a bit of an anti-timing super stepping out like that. Maybe he should have just done like another round of Zealots or something to buffer. It's tough to say. That was a pretty bad concave for him. Now this probe coming on in, harassing Bomber. What? What? You reading this, guys? Bomber going for a 3rd CC at the non-3rd CC location. Super just goes back with his probe because he's confused. Yeah, he's like, shouldn't there be an SCV there or something? Or a CC starting soon? And Bomber's like, I got my CC right here. So Super, a little bit scared, is scouting out. It's okay to be nervous. Look at this probe coming on into the natural. The Reaper, oh, is it going to catch that probe? It does not. So this probe going to head on into the main base, and Bomber is just mind gaming Super. This is a totally normal opening, and now he's locked in the probe, but Super has not a clue. He's in the dark, man. Look at this. He's scared. He doesn't know. Like, I feel as if you look at the build the Terran's doing, and you're like, the only thing that fits here is either a couple of barracks or a CC, and it's always a CC, right? So I think that's the only thing that Super can be thinking, right? Like that you put your CC somewhere else, like in the high ground or at this 3rd base location. He clearly didn't scout for it, and oh, look at this, nicely done with this Reaper. Gonna be picking off its 2nd probe already. Super sending those guys out, losing mining time scouting out for this, when Bomber was just like, nope, CC at the 3rd base. It's Thunderbird. It's a very safe location regardless. You hold this ramp and you protect both the bases. And okay, this is what I was wondering. Bomber going for a quick 3rd base. He does lose his Reaper though, and that's a big deal. Super's scared, by the way. He's making a good number of Stalkers still, and now he's getting up a Robo, so a very safe play here. Bomber's got to be careful with his Cyclone. That's his main source of defense for now. He's playing it greedy, guys. Make no mistake. Fast 3rd command center on location. He's making Marines and tanks now, but it's going to take a while before that number really gets to a well-established point of having enough Marines and Marauders to deflect the Protoss army if Super does decide to go on the offensive. Warp Gate research has finished up for Super. Bomber is building up a bunker at the front. This is something I like to see. But look at this. This is just Bomber just being like, I'm going to mind game you, Super. And good luck. The first observer is going to be moving across the map. Bomber has got his Cyclone. I doubt it's going to see this observer, though. If Bomber scans this observer, he is a god. But it turns out he is a mortal man. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on in. Looks like you guys are enjoying this show match so far. In comes this observer. Going to be heading towards this 3rd base, and this is when Super's like, oh, I got bamboozled. Because he did. It wasn't like Super was like, oh my god, and threw up 3 shield batteries. But it's all coming together now. He's like, oh, that's what you did. I feel like Super probably should have sniffed that one out. But I guess if you've been away from the game a while, things still might seem a little bit foreign, regardless of how well practiced you are. Or maybe it's just someone that plays Terran that looks at that build and it's like, okay, the only thing that fits logically is a couple of barracks being proxied somewhere, or a CC. So I feel like Super should have checked that 3rd base location. But he never did. Now he knows, though. And let's take a look. We've got Bomber with a bunker up at the front. Super is moving forward a little bit. He's got Stalkers. He doesn't have Blink, though, as he's miles away from Blink since he went for Robo before Twilight Council. So he can't really push up this ramp easily because if the Stalkers go in, they are committed. And on Bomber's front, I feel like it's just going to be more of the same. He's gone to 5 barracks here. Stim, Combat Shield, I imagine we'll see a couple of eBays getting thrown up relatively soon because Bomber's economy is just booming. Guys, if I'm Bomber's opponent, not that they've been announced yet, but if I'm Bomber's opponent and I'm watching this before the GSL is announced, I'm thinking of the dirtiest cheeses because this guy is just playing so greedy. So greedy, man. Looks like Super might be planning on going on the offensive here, but it's just, there's already so much bio out for Bomber. It's like an overwhelming amount. He's got a couple of tanks as well, which is really nice for him. And look at this Bomber. Yeah, he's not planning on making more tanks. He's using his factory to make extra add-ons, I feel. Because let's see, what's this? Is he actually going to start making wood mines? No, of course he's not. He's making an extra starport so he can make 1,000 medivacs. Maybe we'll see Vikings this game. It's not like Bomber is committed to playing how he did in the last game, but if he does, I'm completely fine with it. I'm just along for the ride at this point. The eBays are finished up for Bomber. He's got his +1 attack already. We'll see if he starts his extra upgrades in a second. Scan goes down. Bomber sees that it is Colossus. I guess it could technically be Disruptors and Gravitic Overdrive being warped in, but you probably know it's Colossus in PvT. Disruptors just aren't enough of a consistent enough for Protoss just to make Disruptors. Now, I do love this Observer from Super. It's been absolutely huge. Bomber's planning on moving out, but Super, of course, sees everything. Oh, here we are. Super does have a prism to the north. There is a turret in position, though. Not sure the turret will be able to kill this off. Might be enough to make him panic a little bit, but we'll see. Bomber moves out with a Marine or something to spot this army. And take a look at the army supply, guys. Bomber is just ahead, and he is indeed making Vikings this game. So he's like, alright, let's do it. Just Vikings for days. Yeah. Bomber spotting this Observer would be really nice. It's very scary for Protoss to lose your detection. Zealot scouting out for Super. That's great to see. You can never rule out trickiness or anything like that. You know, this Prism hanging out. Bomber's getting up an extra turret or two. A Dark Shrine is on the way for Super because he's like, alright, well, it's going to be a long game. Always something good to have in the back pocket there. Oh, Bomber, he sends some Marines forward. He does not see the fact that there's an Observer right over his head just yet. Oh, wow, that was a very big stim for Bomber, trying to pursue down this Warp Prism. The Zealots are going to get cleaned up. I don't know if this Prism's going to be able to get a Warp, and no, it's definitely not. This is a dead Prism. Viking is going to be pursuing, and dead Prism. Bing, bang, boom. Bomber got his 4th base on position. Now, this is just macro, guys. We've just been watching, like, just the past few minutes, or like the past 9 minutes have pretty much just been macro. There's been small pushes and stuff, but nothing else too major. Bomber's like, let me up this ramp, I must destroy these rocks. The Vikings. There's so many Vikings here already. 7 versus 3 Colossus. Bomber is trying to stem up this ramp, and he is going to force this Protoss army back. He baits out a lot of force fields. I don't know if there's enough for another round. He's got himself a good number of like, this is actually just absurd how much Bomber there is. Super is approaching max out himself, but I feel as if Bomber's army is actually just good enough to kill it. Because he's got himself... He only has 6 Vikings, that's true. But Super just has a ton of Zealots and Stalkers. Like, Super has 19 Stalkers. That is a lot of useless supply. We're now going to be seeing these Medivacs are going. Super knows this is coming his way, though, as he spotted it. So, Bomber, does he get into the main base with these Medivacs? Some Stalkers blink. One of those Medivacs gets picked off. Bomber does not commit there. Instead, he just rolls forward with this army. He's setting up Liberators. He's got all of his bio here. Even setting up a tank or 2. Vikings working away on the Colossus. Oh my god. Bomber is just massacring Super so far. In comes this drop. There is a Colossus and a ton of Zealots intercepting this drop. However, he's still got good damage done with those Liberators and that extra army as he picks off the 4th base of Super. Bomber now going to be unloading some surviving units into the main base. They might get picked off, but the damage has already been done, I feel. Beautifully done by Bomber. Now, Bomber does actually have an absurd amount of money. He's got 2,600 minerals in the bank. He's throwing up an extra CC, which is good to see. Now, he's got up extra command centers. He's building more. You might as well throw up like an extra 1 or 2, get up some extra production if you're Bomber. There we go. CC, CC. That's what you got to do when you take a fight or something. You look back and you're like, oh, I got tons of money. I got to spend this. Bomber is going into mass liberators here. He does not have advanced ballistics. That would be good to see if you are going to commit to a ton of liberators. But I still feel like he's in a pretty commanding position right now. Super is tacking up into Psystorm, which is very, very important for him. He's even getting up a Stargate, realizing that he might eventually need Tempest. Getting his +1 started already, which is nice for the Protoss player, being a little bit preemptive with that. But yeah, I mean, Bomber just has such a powerful economy and stuff. Now, I don't think Super's dead by any means. I think a Protoss in the late game is probably pretty comfortable, because on paper it's like, oh, the Protoss should probably be fine, right? Most of the time. It's not like Bomber has a ton of tanks or anything. I mean, and you can play around the Liberators. Super's army just seems kind of weak, because it is a lot of supply in Zealot Stalkers, and Bomber's pretty much just making a lot of supply in Marines and Marauders, which generally does win out versus this composition. Super getting up Psystorm, which is very important, I feel. Once he has Psystorm, his army becomes so much powerful, and he does intercept a drop from Bomber here. Looks like that Zealot on the Watchtower or something must have spotted it. A nice find there for Super. Of course, Bomber going for his classical move out, 1-2 punch as always. This bio is going to be moving on in. The observers are the pain, though, spotting Bomber's move outs. Looks like Bomber potentially going to be rolling in with all of his Liberators, though, starting to work away on these rocks. Super, does he sniff this out? I don't think he knows where this army is exactly, but he knows that something's got to be coming his way, so he repositions at this base. Bomber, he's got a ton of Liberators. Does he siege them up? Oh, he doesn't siege them up just yet. But in he goes with the rest of this chunk of bio. He's just hitting everywhere, man. Super does have Psystorm, though, and he's got a lot of High Templar. Bomber going to try and focus someone down, going to tank through it. But this is why we needed to see Super getting Psystorm. It is massacring this portion of Bomber's army. Bomber is coming on in with his Liberators, going to zone out Super via them. And probably going to be able to take down this Nexus, most likely, if I had to imagine. It's going to cost Super if he engages into this. Looks like he is going for it. Some of the Liberators did unsiege right as that happened, though, so good timing for Super. The Vikings working away on some of the Colossus, but they are still standing. Super is getting on top of Bomber's army here. Looks like some of the Colossus the Colossus don't even go down. That is absolutely a win for Super. Nicely done. He even kept the Nexus alive, which is very important. So Super's army starting to win out and getting himself a nice victory there. It would be good to see him warp in a few more High Templar. You always want to have a few of those building energy as a Protoss player. Bomber, of course, isn't dead yet just because he's got this massive economy and mass production to fall back onto, as he's just making 4 Liberators at a time, a ton of Marines and Marauders. So far, Super seems to be pulling it a little bit more together right now, and he is going to be looking to push on into Bomber. Bomber, his Liberators are out of position currently to intercept this attack. So we're resieging some of them. We also have yet to see advanced ballistics, which is a very important upgrade. Super wants to go on the offensive here, but keep in mind that is how he lost game number 1 pretty much. He went for an attack that didn't pan out. Bomber's actually potentially moving out right now. He's going to be setting up all of his Liberators, just holding on at this planetary. The bio for Bomber does come back. More and more of these Liberators getting set up. Both these guys wanting to make sure they take the right fight, as losing this fight could be catastrophic. Now, Liberators getting set on up once again, getting some good shots on as Super gets dragged in there a little bit. Advanced ballistics would still be very nice from Bomber, but we do see the Terran player. He's now getting up his 3-3 upgrades. They're both just finishing up. He's got his +3 attack, 3 armors on the way, and look at this. Bomber going for another of his big drops. I'm loving these massive drops he's going for. Super is deciding to commit to this attack into the planetary, into all the Liberators. I don't know if it's going to work out for him. The Liberators are standing strong. The Stalker count's still quite high, and Bomber actually did bring back his drop there. He really wanted to drop Super, and he really wants to. However, Super's attack there did scare him enough to retreat. But look at this, Bomber, he's going in with this big Medivac drop. Super knows this is coming on in, but I don't know if he's going to be there in time. Yeah, this bio can probably just focus down this Nexus, I feel. It is very overstimmed, but it is at least going to get this prize. And now it's just picking off a few probes, picks off the prison. Probably going to trade out and just die, I imagine. But Bomber's macro, once again, is so good. We see the Terran just trading out with the Protoss player and just having so much more behind it. Look at this Bomber just producing non-stop, whereas there's nothing on the production tab of Super, and Super has got money to spend, really just relying on these warpins whenever he feels like it seems, but he's not keeping up with his macro enough, it would seem. I feel like we could do with seeing Some more units on that production tab for Super as he's floating a fair bit of money. And army supply-wise, Bomber is just ahead an immense amount. He's got all these extra bases going. Super did lose his 5th base, and that really does hurt. His economy might be starting to hinder him a little bit. That being said, though, he's got money to spend. Finally, he decides to invest in some Tempest, warping in a lot more High Templar, which is very important. Tempest, High Templar, a very strong unit composition. Really, when supplemented with the few Colossus that Super has, this has got the makings to be a fantastic Protoss army. That being said, though, Super is moving out before he even has Psystorm, which could just be a massive mistake. I mean, the Templar, I mean, they have the upgrade, but they don't have the energy, so Bomber is just stimming on in. He realizes there's no Psystorm, and Super overcommits. Bomber takes the 2-0 lead here. And guys, I was thinking that Super was going to be the favorite. No, Bomber is just rocking Super. Beautifully done. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on into this invitational. And we'll get on into the next game as soon as we can. Super, gonna have to pick another map. Marine SC2 saying, what a god, I feel the same. Bomber is playing, like, it's just such a weird style that we're not used to seeing. But it's fantastic. Now, once again, I will say, guys, feel free to use that match arena. You literally log on in if you have, like, one of many accounts. Just help us use that code. Good to see some of you guys tuning on in here, though, as it is some great StarCraft 2 going on. Okay. We'll make sure Super picks the next map, and it's going to be Cyber Forest. Yeah, guys, I'm not saying use that code for me. I'm saying help use it for the players. Like, you, while we're waiting to get on into the next game, you go use that code. You sign on in. Literally gives 50 cents to the players. And if a bunch of you guys do that, that really adds on up. Okie dokie. We're gonna get everyone on into the lobby. Then into the next game. WCS is also gonna be going on later. There we go. Everyone getting on in. Making sure everyone's ready. I think Super may be restarting this game. Yeah, Super rebooting the game. Okay. Yeah, we want to make sure the players are playing with optimal conditions, guys. So if they've gotta step away for a second or do something, we always are okay with that. Because we're here for the good games. And so far, the past 2 games have been great. Pretty convincingly Bomber's games, I feel. I feel like they've been close, and then Bomber makes 1 or 2 moves, and all of a sudden it just falls apart for Super. Like, he builds up fine, but doesn't really maintain, it seems. Okay, everyone's ready. We are going to get on into it. Do apologize for the bit of downtime there. But here we go. Next match underway. Some early morning Starcraft for me, guys. Well, whether you are from Korea, Europe, or NA, I think it's safe to say that it is some pretty good games going on here. Now, as this best of 9 continues underway, spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map, it's Super. And in the bottom right, he's got the 2-0 lead. It's a Bomber. I wonder if we're just going to see Bomber macro every game and Super macro every game. But so far, it seems Super's macro is just not up to the task. Bomber is like, no, I'm going to make more stuff than you, and I'm going to win. And so far, it's working. I'll be damned, it's working. Probe moving across the map. Scouting out. Keep in mind, Bomber did go with that, cheeky kind of expansion to Mind Game Super at the start of that last game. I don't know if just a normal macro game works out the same way. I think it probably does. Yeah, Super probably saying good in response to his PC potentially lagging, but I assume it's good now. Cybercore on the way. Bomber goes for a CC on the high ground. Interestingly enough, Super does scout it though, so a slight variation here for Bomber. I mean, he hasn't scouted out, but it is a Cybercore first, so a potential Adept going to be moving across the map for Super. No, Super actually planning a quick Stargate here. Look at this, a very quick Stargate from the Protoss. Getting that Stargate before the Adept, before Warp Gate, is a very notable commitment from the Protoss. Basically allowing the Stargate to be up at 2 minutes and 27 seconds. Even a little bit before that. For time reference, most Zergs, or some Zergs, don't even have their third base by this time, and the Stargate's already on the way. So yeah, this is a very early Stargate. Pretty much as early as it can be. Cybercore into the quick Stargate. Macro is not a super priority for Super currently, as he's made this commitment. Probably going to want to save up his next Chrono and dump it into this Oracle. He did just Chrono boost out 2 of his Nexus. Didn't save one of the Chronos for this Oracle. He will have enough energy in just a second here. We'll see if he dumps it into that. Meanwhile, another Gateway on the way. There we go. Chrono being dumped on in there. So this Oracle going to be coming out as soon as possible. Super going to be trying to catch Bomber off guard. We take a look at what Bomber's making. He's getting up an extra barracks over on his side of the map. Building a siege tank. And so this extra barracks probably just going to be for a relatively quick stim. So going to be trying to hit a timing attack, and no, it's actually combat shield. Okay, so going to be going for one of these marine tank combat shield pushes. I believe Bomber tried something like this versus Puck. Now, Adept going to be shading on in for Super. Not going to be committing, of course. Now, it is important to note this Oracle is going to be heading on in towards the main base. Bomber is not prepared for this at all. A few Marines are going to be popping out. Super going to focus down an injured Mule, or pretty much almost expired Mule. But he is going to nab himself up a few SCVs. Fortunately for Bomber, that Oracle was nerfed a while back. So in the time that, say, that Oracle in the past would have killed off like 6 SCVs or something, instead it only kills off 3. So pretty good for Bomber, who is now going to be moving across the map with just Marines and tanks, hoping to catch his opponent off guard right out the gate. These Marines are coming across. Does Bomber see the stasis ward? Oh man, it's close. Bomber's pulling SCVs already with this. Yeah, so he is very, very committed to this attack. Now, is Super going to be able to stop this tank in the lead? Marines actually pick off one of the Oracles. That's huge for when Super decides to commit onto this, which he will have to do. He's no longer going to have that Oracle. Bomber just going for a very, very aggressive push here. And I don't know if Super is going to be able to stop it. SCV's in the front here, basically just buffering to absorb shots for these Marines. The Marines now have combat shield, and the tanks are getting into position in which they're going to be sieging up. There is a Void Ray on the way, but I don't know how much of a help this is going to be. Super is committing on in here. Probes being pulled into tanks is never a pretty thing. 13, 14 have gone down so far, but if it can be cleaned up, Super might be in an alright position. He's got a third base up behind this, and Bomber is pretty darn committed. The shield battery really helping out, keeping these units alive, but there's still so much tear in here now. The Marines trying to work away in the Oracle. The Oracle stays alive, but it's now out of energy. It's useless. And is Super going to be able to hold on? He throws up 2 more gateways because he doesn't have enough production here. More Stalkers are warping on in. But there's a bunker, there's a tank, there's Marines here. Super recalls, I believe, to his third base, it would seem. Maybe going to be trying to catch this army from behind or something. The Void Ray coming forward. Going to probably try and target down that siege tank. The tank will go down to the Stalkers. Actually, a great move for Super. Nabs up the Cyclone as well, so it is now just Marines here for Bomber. A much more manageable army for the Protoss. And yeah, Bomber is very committed here. And oh, look at this. Units being rallied across the map. That is a big mistake from Bomber. That siege tank, I feel, is toast. So Super, while he lost his Nexus, he may still be able to manage and shut Bomber down here. Stalkers engaging into this bunker, which is not being repaired. Super is not microing back the injured Stalkers, though, so that could be considered a mistake. And oh, look at this. A few of the Marines get into the main base. Going to be disrupting Super's mining even further. These Marines now trading out with his Void Ray. It's like the Void Ray will be fine, so Bomber just going to settle for a few more probes. On Bomber's side of the map, though, the Oracle does actually come on in. It actually picks off 7 SCVs. It's now out of energy, but a nice blow there. That being said, though, still a pretty darn good spot for Bomber here, as he is up workers by about 6. He's got production. He's going to have bio production soon. And the fact that he did so much damage to Super has just set him up fine, in the sense that Super has no other tech coming his way. So while Super held on to that attack while he's got an extra base up still, he's investing into a Nexus now, and just momentarily, really, Bomber's going to have Stim Pack. And Stimmed Bio is going to destroy unupgraded Stalkers. So yeah, I feel like Bomber's already won this game. That being said, Super can always try and bring it back. Void Ray's coming on in here, was maybe hoping to pick off the Stim Pack. That being said, it finishes up. Super's going to come in, see the fact that Stim Pack is finished up, and be like, oh dear, I'm in trouble, aren't I? Void Ray going to go down. Marines catch it. Nicely done. And guys, Bomber could potentially be having a 3-0 lead in this series. This was not what I was expecting. Bomber's going to be moving out with a drop. This Oracle will actually spot it, which is a big deal. If Super can shut down the aggression for Bomber in smaller segments, it becomes a lot more manageable. Look at this, though. Bomber just unloading underneath this Oracle. He doesn't quite get it, though. Oh my god, that Oracle, 4 health. Staying alive. There's one Marine trying to catch it. However, Oracle's pretty quick, so it stays alive. That being said, though, Bomber, I think, can just move out. He's got so many Marauders already. A Stasis Ward is going up for Super. A great way to buy time, that's for sure. Bomber, is he going to run on into this? No, he stims a Marine forward. He knows that this is a classic trick for Protoss at this point. Super, he's got Sentries, he's got Zealots, but no upgrades for either, really. So he's going to have to rely on some great force fields on some great stasis wards, perhaps, and Bomber's army is just so scary. Just stimmed bio versus non-stimmed gateway units is just not good for the Protoss. And look at this, oh my god, Bomber. He just wants to be done with this game. He's like, nope, you are a dead. You are a dead Protoss. I'm coming on in. I'm bringing the SCVs once more. They like getting in on the action. So in comes Bomber, gonna be stimming after the army of Super. And look at this, Super abandons his third base. That being said, Super's buying himself some time, but yeah, he engages forward. He's gonna eat a tank shot or two. Force fields go down to cover his retreat. But there's just no way Super deals with this army. He's warping in more sentries to buy time. A Dark Shrine is on the way, and he's getting a bit of counter damage done with these Oracles. He actually killed off 13 SCVs between the Oracles and the ones attacking on the front. But look at this. There's a tank getting set on up. There's just so much stimmed bio. So much bio. And I think Super's dead. It's just been a long death, but yeah, we've seen this one coming. I mean, the Dark Shrine could potentially pull him back into this. I feel as if you're Bomber, you should be banking energy, but he's not really. He is dropping mules. So, I mean, okay, DTs could bring Super back into this. Maybe I spoke too soon. Super, by the way, going for a bit of a sneaky Nexus. And oh, in he comes again with these Oracles, so he is starting to work away in the SCV count of Bomber. 3 DTs are warping on in. Where they're warping on in, I'm not too sure. In the main base, Super loses his natural. A scan goes down for Bomber. Okay, he picks off all the DTs, and Super had warped in another, but that one goes down. And now all of a sudden, these gateways are on cooldown. There's no more DTs. Bomber goes up 3-0. So that DT hope for Super was not enough. You really need to segment those DTs, and Bomber was already in killing the natural. So it was too little too late for Super. Well played, very well played by Bomber. That being said, this series is not over just yet. We're going to get on into the next match, or the next map, and we will go from there. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on into this game's invitational. I hope you are enjoying the matches. I certainly am. Bomber and Super, what a treat. Bomber's bopping, but the games really are exciting, and there's still room for Super to bring it back. We'll see what the next map pick is going to be. Make sure to let your friends know that this match is going on. Acropolis is going to be the next map. Now, is this where Super just tries to cheese the heck out of Super? Or out of Bomber, pardon me? I feel like this is when you do it. You're like, alright, let's go. But I don't even know, is there even that good of Protoss cheese out there lately? Like, I feel as if it's not. We don't see Protoss cheesing Terrans too much these days. Good to see a fair few of you guys coming on over to Africa. Speaking in English, of course, it is a predominantly Korean platform over these invitationals. Seem to be bringing some of you guys over, which is great. What do you guys think the score is going to be? We'll make sure everyone's ready. I mean, clearly Bomber's in the lead, but is he going to like 5-0? Or is Super going to bring it back, and are we going to have 9 full maps? I want to say that the series depends on this one. Like, I feel if Super loses this next map, like, he's probably going to give it his all this one. Just be like, okay, can I bring it back? And if he can't, he's just going to be like, okay, I give up and die. This is it. This is my fate. I've been bombed by the Bomber. Spam your bombs in chat for Bomber, by the way, if you are cheering for this man in the bottom right-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, in the top left-hand side of the map, it is Super. Steven Steele saying, nothing I'd rather be doing than spending a lazy Sunday with y'all. I completely agree. It's a little early for me to call it a lazy Sunday, but I'll probably go have a nap or something after this. But I feel the same way, absolutely. Gateway on the way for Super. Barracks on the way for Bomber, both where they belong. No, it's great to have so many of you guys coming out to check out this first show match. I know a lot of Bomber fans, but Super, while this is my first time casting him, watched him a lot in the past, and it's just fun to be casting him. I really do enjoy casting new players. It's really great to see, to analyze them. Once again, Cybercore first for Super. Or actually, no, Nexus was before the Cybercore, pardon me. Spam this bomb to help Bomber. I don't know if he actually needs help. Maybe you guys should be spamming Soup to help Super. Once again, Stargate quickly on the way for Super. I mean, the Oracles did get a lot of damage done there, but in the end he wasn't able to stop that attack. I think losing that other Oracle early on to Bomber just out on the map, that really hurts, because those Protoss holds versus Terran attacks like that are always so close. Like, they are always down to the wire. Yeah. As like, it's basically like a do or die situation always. And so, of course, it's going to be a close situation because Bomber is trying as hard to kill you as you can, and you're just trying to survive as Super. Losing the Oracle is a big deal. Now, we're going to be seeing a potential Widowmine drop coming out of Bomber here. I'm a big fan of Widowmine drops in 2019. Ever since there was the patch which made them basically just shoot out like a rapid-fire machine gun, this factory produces them. They only take 21 seconds to build. And on a reactor, that's really quick in Starcraft 2. For comparison, Medivac, 30 seconds to build. So basically, the way that it works out is that you can send out like 4 mines and a Medivac just over and over again. So we'll see if Bomber's queuing up another Medivac. Yes, he is. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more mines going out. Bomber ran right into this Oracle. The Oracle turns around, though, and is like, whoa, that's a Widowmine drop. Super going for a fast third Nexus. He starts up a Phoenix immediately behind this, as he is playing it rather greedy in a sense, just having out Oracles into depths. He knows this drop is coming on in, and Bomber's like, whatever, let's just go for it. Widowmine drops can always get something done, but yeah, Super he's taking this seriously now, warping in Stalkers, and between the Oracle's damage and the Phoenix, I don't think Bomber's going to get anything done. He's going to start unloading mines, but they're just going to be focused down, right? Or no, two of these mines actually burrow. There's one shot, but they hit the Phoenix, so not the best damage there. It softens up the Oracles, but only shield damage, so Bomber's drop not accomplishing a lot there. He's queuing up more Widow Mines behind this. Not the best start for the Terran player. Immediately a third CC goes up for Bomber. He's like, okay, that didn't work. The worker count is currently equal, but Super has a third Nexus on the way soon, so his economy is just going to be booming. Bomber's going to try and go around the back here. I mean, if he can sneak his way in and get a good Widowmine shot, that's the thing about Widowmines. You can be behind in a game of Starcraft 2 and suddenly you get the money hit. The first drop didn't do too well for Bomber. This one could potentially do a lot better. All the mines are going to get burrowed here. Super going to be coming on in. These mines going to reburrow and unburrow. Actually hits one of the units in a similar to there. Oracle gets picked off, which is nice for Bomber. Gets 4 probes in the end. 4 mines for 4 probes. Gets an Oracle as well, which is kind of a bonus. Fortunately for Bomber, mines are pretty cheap though, so it's not the complete end of the world. Look at this. All this production going to be going on up. Bomber immediately going up to 5 barracks production. Stimpack is yet to start, which is somewhat concerning for Bomber. Like, we got to see that Stim, my dude. There we go. Stimpack is now on the way. Super, though, just not skipping a beat, just macroing up behind this. That being said, though, economy-wise, once again, we're in a situation in which things are pretty darn good for Bomber, I feel. Like, he doesn't have a scary army or anything, but he's going to be coming into a good bio production. And, yeah, just the fact that there's going to be that third, like, the worker count. It's pretty darn close, and that is generally considered good for the Terran because of the mule factor. Now, Bomber is going to be moving out on the map. Super, maybe looking to put a bit of pressure on his opponent, just with these Phoenix. The ground army really isn't a lot for Bomber at this point. Like, it's just a handful of units. That's why he's waiting on this production to get going. So, in a sense, Bomber's being greedy because he went for that aggressive play that really puts you behind production-wise as a Terran, and then he's just like, whatever, third base. Super isn't going to come attack me, right? And so far, he has not. Blink is going to be done for Super in about 20 seconds. I imagine he'll put the pressure on Bomber after that. Stim should be done around then, though, so I think it's A-okay for Bomber. Phoenix coming in, pick off 4 SCVs, a nice move there. Bomber, though, pretty continuous on his production, though. Still just behind 2 workers on the Protoss. Always good for the Terran. Turret gets cancelled even. Interesting choice for Bomber. Stimpack going to be finishing up. Blink is done for Super, but he hasn't been looking to pressure his opponent at all with it. Bomber going into +2 attack. Interestingly enough, he hasn't even started his +1 armor. I wonder if we'll be seeing that go up relatively soon. There we go, +1 armor on the way. So Bomber going to be heading towards an upgrade lead in the future. Terran players starting to move on out. Lots of stasis wards getting thrown on up. Bomber unloads an SCV onto that stasis ward. Super's army is actually looking pretty scary here, just pure mass-wise, as it's a ton of Zealots and Stalkers. Then again, that's pretty much all it is, a ton of Zealots and Stalkers. Widowmines don't get their shots off, which is actually very important for Super, keeping these Zealots alive, but Bomber realizing he has the mobility, gonna poke in and out. Sentries get some force fields out. Bomber, though, beautiful pullback there, saving units with that medivac. More mines coming forward, and look at this, Bomber is just poking Super. The Zealot count really has dwindled. It's pretty much Stalkers, some Phoenix versus all this Marine Marauder. I mean, Bomber's pushing on in, but his army is starting to wear thin. Super, with an overwhelming amount of Stalkers, is going to be able to hold on. And the thing about Blink Stalkers is they can counterattack very, very well. So Bomber just running with his tail between his legs. Widowmine on the ground, they're going to hit a Phoenix. Nothing too significant, though. Bomber retreating. Super. I wonder if he's going to look to put the pressure on his opponent. He does have a Prism and warped in more Zealots. So potentially he is going to be able to get a hurting on Bomber. Supply-wise, though, the numbers say that he probably isn't going to be able to. That being said, though, he is going to have himself a nice upgrade timing before Bomber has the lead. Super actually briefly has the lead here. Maybe the perfect timing for an attack. Although he does realize that you got to be careful with this kind of army, because Zealots and Stalkers really can be abused by the high mobility bio. More Widowmine's going to be burrowing for the Terran players. Super wants to commit on in here, but he's running forward. There's lots of Widowmines on the ground. Bomber just saying, alright, I'm pulling the SCVs. If I can hold on here, I'm probably going to win this game. Pulls back the SCVs, avoids the mine shot, so no real friendly fire going down. That being said, though, Bomber, 25 SCVs have gone down. The Zealot count, though, is suddenly gone for Super, and Bomber is going to begin pushing him back. A couple of Zealots and the Sentry go down in the counter push. Super, he managed to get a fair bit of damage done there. 25 SCVs is actually a pretty significant number. Bomber, though, the macro god, is still at 51 despite taking that loss. Just transfers some SCVs since his main was mining out anyway. And now we're seeing Bomber. He's got himself an upgrade lead. He's going to be moving across the map with this bio, and Super still just has this Stalker Zealot composition, which is going to be worse now that it's behind on upgrades. And now that the unit count really has been reset, a lot of Stalkers getting caught there for Super. That definitely hurts. Bomber's up on supply. He's got a better unit composition for now. Super's been trying to tech into Psystorm. He's trying to get his +2 armor to try and even things out in the upgrade field. But man, I am still concerned for the Protoss. Sentries are going to buy himself some time here, as Bomber can't really push down this ramp with ease. But I mean, yeah, it's just so much bio here for the Terran. Bomber is going to be stimming forward right now. The Marauders, and oh my god, Bomber once again pulling the SCVs with his killer's instinct. It's just like, yeah, I'll pull some SCVs and you are going to die. And so far, Super has died every time. Bomber, once again, just a lot of Marines, a lot of Marauders, a couple of Widow Mines in the mix this time around. But look at this, he engages forward, he starts kiting back immediately. SCVs meeting their fate as they buffer for this bio, but that might be all that Bomber needs. Guardian Shield keeping these Zealots alive, making them a little bit tankier. The +2 armor has just finished for Super, but does he have enough of an army here right now? He's warping in more and more Zealots. His 4th base goes down. All he needs to do is hold on, and he'll be in a pretty good spot since Bomber lost a ton of SCVs that he pulled into this attack. Zealots trying to get shots off. So far, no friendly fire going down. The Bomber just pulls back immediately to avoid that. The sentries don't have energy for force fields to lock this bio, so Bomber just kiting Super back for days. More Zealots warping in for Super, but I feel as if it's a futile effort at this point. Bomber just going to continuously kite back. Beautifully done. So many medivacs are keeping this bio in at a healthy amount of HP. GG gets called. Beautifully played. Beautifully done. Just very well played by Bomber. He's just taking Super down. He's looking good. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on in. The match isn't over just yet, but it very well could be soon, as Super is just getting destroyed by Bomber. Bomber just looking very good. Super maybe needs to work on his PVT a little bit, as it's just not coming together for him. Now, since this is the last match, I am going to say, feel free to check out that match, Reno. Games 16 is the code, games with a Z. We'll let Super pick the next map, and then we'll be getting on into it. It's going to have to be a reverse sweep, though. And from the way these guys have been playing, I don't know if I see it happening. As this series so far, there hasn't been a lot of times in which Super is in the lead. Like, it just has not been going good for him. Turbo Cruise 84 is going to be the next map. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on in. Also, I should note, if you guys want to grab the replays for this event, feel free to do that. If you guys are watching this and enjoy the Starcraft, you're probably going to want to press favorite and follow this channel and whatnot. If you're watching like a VOD later or whatever, make sure to hit that like button, as we're getting on into what could be the final game. Does Super have the reverse sweep in him? We'll find out as we load on into Turbo Cruise 84. Maybe it's time. Maybe he pulls the reversal, and Bomber is just going to be sitting there dumbfounded, being like, I just lost 5 games in a row. Super could be saying the same thing, though, if Bomber wins this one. And I feel as if that's more likely. Judging on our previous sample size, it's just been going very well for this man up in the top right-hand side of the map. It's Bomber. And in the bottom left-hand side of the map, it's Super. This is why we do the best of 9s, though. If it's like a sweep or whatever, we still get a lot of games. Glad to see you guys are enjoying this show match. As it's just great to have players like this out. I'm not sure who I'm going to try and get for the next one. I'd love to try and get Tasia now that he's back in the GSL. But I think he might be done with these. He did like he did 2 of them in the past. But I don't know if he's going to be doing another one or anything like that. So, we'll see how this game's going to go. Bomber going for a very early scout here. Just wanting to make sure that Super is not changing things up too much, or is this going to be an eBay block? Oh, Bomber, you dirty, dirty man. I love it. eBay blocks versus Protoss are so good, guys. So good. As, while on paper, I'm honestly not too sure of how they work out. They just throw the Protoss off so much. As, basically what they do is, yeah, the Protoss's build is just going to be really thrown off, and oh my god, Bomber goes for the gas steal behind this. And this is just disastrous for Super. Oh, this hurts, man. This really hurts. Look at this. I love this from Bomber. Oh man, what a dirty, dirty Terran. Super is going to try and free his gas first, as he feels he really wants that up, and the refinery doesn't have as much health. Bomber actually cancels that a little bit early, I feel. Letting Super take that gas, but no man, I honestly love this from Bomber. This is awesome. Super is going to be so tilted, he's going to be so thrown off, and he's already down 0-4, and Bomber just does this. This just hurts. The command center on the way before the Nexus. Super, his build, definitely going to be thrown off a little bit here. Saturating that gas. Bomber comes on in, he wants to try and pick off that probe. In the end, not able to get it. If he got that probably... I wouldn't have blamed Super, just GGing right there if Bomber had got that probe. Now we take a look. What's Bomber doing behind this? He's getting up his factory, getting up an extra barracks. So going to be going for potentially one of those combat shield tank pushes again, as that's how we opened up before when doing that push. It's like the Reaper going to be retreating as the Stalker is out. Stalker not going to be able to push up this ramp though, as there is going to be the 2 Marines and the Reaper. Reaper tanking the shots. Marine's not helping out too much. Looks like Super really trying his luck here. Oh, he does get the Reaper, which is a nice move for the Protoss. That's going to deny a potential YOLO scout from Bomber later on. So getting at least a nice little victory there. Realizing Bomber is pinned on his high ground, Super, maybe he's just going to chrono boost out probes and just macro away from this. As I say that though, Blink is being researched. I honestly do believe Blink is the best way for Protoss to open up in this day and age of StarCraft, as it just shuts down any form of harassment. It's so useful, and players have got so good at using the Blink. Because in the past it was like, oh, the Protoss player is gonna just, get Blink, go for an all-in, and then if the all-in fails, that's that. Whereas now they tend to keep the Stalkers alive a little bit longer, perhaps. They're really good at delaying, usually. And we are seeing Super go into that Blink, then Robo, which is really how... This is what I'm a big fan of. And I mean, I believe if a Protoss plays this style well, it is a fantastic way to play it. Like, it is just a beautiful build. Stim Pack is on the way. Nexus on the way for Super. Hallucination Scout. So while this game opened up a little bit dirty for Bomber, it is just stabilizing here. Worker count is in the lead here. Or it's in the lead for Super, but just barely. So Bomber actually tied the worker count with the Protoss. Once again, which is considered pretty good for the Terran, I feel. As I say that, though, Super is getting into his third base. He's got a Robo Bay already on the way. He's got Blink already. So, I mean, yeah, I believe there's fully a chance for Super to bring this one back. It's going to be a long road if he is going to want to take this series. But this game, I feel as if nothing too bad so far has happened for him. Bomber is building up into a scary army, getting up his bio once more. Super is waiting with his Blink Stalkers. Just gonna be waiting to try and pick off any units that Bomber sends out. That's their purpose. They've got the high mobility, so they can just try and get little pickoffs, delay the Terran as much as possible. Combat shield's on the way. There we go. Stalker's gonna shut down this Marine of Bomber. Extended Thermal Lance on the way for the Protoss. Ground armor as well. I don't know how I feel about the armor choice when you're going Colossus, because the damage really helps them out. On the other hand, of course, the armor really helps at the Blink Stalkers, or it really helps at the Zealots. We've yet to see charge, though, for Super. Maybe he's just too broke to go for that. All things considered, though, I do believe that the first Colossus being out is very important. A second one already on the way. If you're delaying your charge to get Colossus, I can get behind that one. You probably just warp in a few sentries to make up for it. Now we do see, though, Super got these Stalkers. Going to be trying to delay his opponent as long as he can. Maybe can nab up a Cyclone. Nicely done. Getting a Medivac or something would be huge for Super. Just being a pain to Bomber as he tries to make his way through these delay zones. I feel as if Super could be doing more with these Stalkers. Instead, he just retreats towards his third base. Going to be grouping up with this army. Bomber's coming on forward. He's got just a whackload of bio once again. This has been the name of the series, in which Bomber has pretty much just made a ton of Marines and Marauders, and Super has not been able to keep up with it. The tank is in a pretty nice position for Bomber. He's starting to set fire to this Nexus already. Just going for a direct push. There's 2 Colossus out for Super, but no charge. That's going to make collapsing on top of this army a bit hard. That charge was delayed a bit by Super, and now he's not going to have it to engage into this. Using force fields to lock up some of this bio. Bomber, though, has got himself a pretty beautiful concave. That being said, though, Colossus getting some nice connections on the Marines there. It's everything for Super to hold on to this Nexus. The tank goes down, which is a big deal to Colossus. Gonna have some Marauders in their face. Super did not pull those Colossus back at all, and the Marauders just staying alive with the support of the Medivacs for so long, but can Super hold on here? He's now juggling Stalkers in his Prism. Zealots getting connections with this bio. Bomber's rallying more across the map, but yeah, Super knows it's over. Bomber takes the clean 5-0. Beautifully played. I feel as if Super could have held on in that last fight. If he maybe pulled the Colossus back a little bit, he didn't do that at all. His charge was maybe a bit late. He had the makings for a hold, but it didn't happen. And Bomber, able to close it out. That's usually the name of the game when a player gets such a nice streak going. Beautifully played by Bomber. And that's it. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on into this Africa world. I really hope you enjoyed the games. If you did enjoy the games, make sure to press that favorite button. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Feel free to follow me on Twitter before I close out the stream, though, as I will link that in chat, as I tweet out about all the matches I do. So if you want to know, like, what Starcraft's coming down the line, that's a good way to go about it. You can also check out my YouTube, which I upload a lot of games on. A lot of games, a lot of tournaments and stuff. So I will link those. And once more, if you guys want to give a couple of bucks to the players for free, top off that prize pool a bit before it ends. Or even grab the event replays. Go to the Matcherino. Help us use code GAMES16 on the Matcherino. You know, as a matter of fact, let's see if I can pull that up quickly and just do like a little demo or something of the Matcherino. Display capture. Okay, so this is the Matcherino, guys. Bomber versus Super show match. Basically, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sign on in. You're going to use one of the options here. Pick whatever one you want. Log on in. Go to contribute. Coupon code GAMES16. Adds $50. Press contribute. I'm not going to do it, of course, because I already have. But yeah. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on in. This has been the Africa world. Or, no, there we go. I did it right at the end. It's been the Games Invitational, number 16. The VOD, of course, should be available on here, but I also upload a lot to my YouTube channel and stuff. And, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.